We can discuss this further now with Alan Mendoza. He's the co-founder and executive director of the national security think tank, the Henry Jackson Society. Thank you very much for joining us, Alan. Trump has got a point. I think the main question I'd like to ask you, we'll move on to other issues, of course, is Trump's essential narrative is, if I'd been president for the past 4 years, 3.5 years, all of this world conflict, this lack of harmony between the nations wouldn't have happened because I'm strong. Putin wouldn't have dared invade Ukraine if I was president, and we wouldn't be having this nonsense in Gaza if I was president. Is there something in that? Do you give him credit for that?
Well, Kevin, it's always interesting to look at counterfactuals because they're just counterfactuals. You can take them any which way. The truth of the situation, of course, is that while he was president, whatever you thought of him, Trump did manage to keep a sort of a lid on the tensions around the world. And I think he did that partly because opponents or prospective opponents thought he was too unpredictable to risk launching an attack of any kind. So from that perspective, I suspect that what he is saying is right to a point because people didn't want to test him. They just didn't know what the outcome was. And when he was tested, sometimes he ended up picking up some very radical answers. For example, we mentioned Iran in the run-up to this segment. You will know that in 2020, after other attacks on American forces and the sort of sense another attack was imminent, Trump ordered the killing of Iran's terrorist-in-chief, Qasem Soleimani, something that no other previous US president who'd been offered the chance to do that had taken. So it's clear that he does have a certain style about him. Whether that would have meant there'd have been no conflicts, though, is a hypothetical. But certainly, I think others would tread warily of Trump should he return to the White House.
I mean, leading on from that, is it fair to say that actually there has been a hugely myopic approach to Iran over the past decade or more, where we've sort of said, well, you know, time to bring them in from the cold. Let's trade with them. Let's drop some of those sanctions. Oh, those assets they had frozen, let's return that to Iran. And all of a sudden, Tehran's gone, well, this is great. Let's go on the offensive.
Well, yes, Alex, no surprise about that, is there? I mean, if you tell people, here, have a pat on the head rather than sort of a bayonet shoved towards you, you're going to react in a very different way. And this was, of course, the problem with the Obama administration with its original nuclear deal, which unfroze a lot of Iranian assets. Trump then, sort of pulled out of that, saying rightly, well, I don't think this is a good deal after all. We're going to pull out of it. And he exerted a sort of a system of maximum pressure on Iran, which looked like it was working until, of course, Joe Biden came in and then said, right, have some more money. Let's try and talk again. And of course, the Iranians breathed a sigh of relief. And surprise, surprise, since that point, they have been very active with their proxies across the region, creating chaos. And now 3 American soldiers lay dead.
Joe Biden, in response to this raid on the weekend, which 3 American servicemen were killed and 34 injured, a very serious incident, a drone attack. We know not from whom, but we can speculate, of course. He said, the president, we will respond in our own time to this. I would have thought the imperative on Joe Biden is to respond pretty damn quickly. What form, Alan, do you think that response will take?
Well, there's a form it should take, and there's a form it probably will take. The should take response will be to take a leaf out of Trump's book and take out a senior member of Iran's terrorist supporting infrastructure, a Soleimani-style figure, while they're outside of Iran. So do the same thing Trump did in 2020. What we're likely to see, though, is probably just attacks on Iranian-backed militias in Syria and Iraq as sort of a lesson to them not to do it again. I'm not sure that's going to deter Iran sufficiently, although it probably will end this round of hostilities, but they'll be back very soon for more. You have to send, though, I think, a much stronger message to Iran saying America is not afraid of escalation. It's not going to attack Iran in Iran right now. But clearly, if Iran continues with its destabilizing tactics, that has to come onto the agenda because you've got to stop them somehow. But sending a strong message now, Kevin, is much better than having to ramp it up later with much more aggressive tactics then.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, isn't it? Well, we are told to be braced for World War III. What are you going to do in the war, Alan?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, happily, I will, given that question last week, I will serve for king and country, absolutely, although I'm not sure they'll want me. But we will do our best. But look, I don't think, on a serious note, we shouldn't joke about this. I don't think World War III is imminent in that sense. But if the West continues to show weakness rather than strength, then we are, of course, going to encourage, aren't we, those people who wish to profit from that weakness. And that does run the risk, therefore, that we do come into hot conflicts as a result of it. So the best result, as always, is prevention and deterrence is better than solving it through war.